in a new series we're starting here on the channel. We're calling it Wrestling 101 because we are seeing a growth in our sport. We're seeing growth at every level, youth, middle, and high school, even at the college level. But we're not seeing the information that needs to be out there to better our programs, better our coaches, our wrestlers, our parents and guardians, our administrators, everybody at every level. And I think we found a solution for that. We're here today on the banks of the Ohio River in Indiana at Isaac Knabel's Invicta Wrestling Academy. And we've been able to rope in somebody with a lot of knowledge that I know is going to be able to give everybody watching a greater understanding about wrestling and how to better their program, how to better their practices, their meets, everything in between. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
My name is Randy Wheeler. Coached here in Kentucky since 2002, and I left coaching probably about a year and a half ago.
And this is an extension of the State Championship Review Series. It's an extension of our Rules Series. This is, like I said, Wrestling 101. And for somebody like me who had to take English 102 twice, this is a good place to start. Now, Randy, you've had some classes that go beyond the 101 level. Tell us a little bit about your current profession and how we kind of ended up together.
Well, I started coaching in Georgia. I coached for about 8, 9, maybe verge of 10 years before I had a child, before I was even married. And I did kindergarten through 8th grade, then I worked with high school, then I did the summer program. And it just gave me a chance to see it all without a child. See the good, the bad, the ugly, what to do, what not to do. I still made a ton of mistakes, but I think they were less severe than they would have been if I had had a child at the time. I did that, moved to Kentucky in the spring or the beginning of '02 and started helping out at South and then developed. My son wrestled. He just finished up wrestling at Indiana Tech College, and he did a state finals review. Alex then turned around and said, hey, you and Alex need to talk. You need to kind of lay out some of the stuff, the experiences you've had over the years.
And, of course, you know a thing or two about anatomy, body movement, bones specifically. I believe you are a person that they go to, and instead of a jiu-jitsu class where they pop bones out, you pop bones back in, correct?
Just being a chiropractor, we do a lot of physiology. Yeah. I've taught or been a guest at the coaches clinic or the officials clinic, working on shoulder stuff. I've spoken at the coaches clinic, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some college wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and I've kind of developed a whole theory on training now, what's called posterior chain training, based on Russian arthrokinematics, all big words, but just how to train more European style for longevity. So and we can talk about that a little bit too.
Well, I was going to say the referee clinic that you come and spoke at, that was, I believe, 22 or 23 today, is November 23rd, 2025. We want to kind of date ourselves. That way we got a time stamp of where we are. And I believe it was the 23 clinic that you come, is either 23 or 22 clinic. It was one or the other. You come and done the potentially dangerous on the shoulder, a couple things with the shoulder, and it was very informative. Actually, the video is still on my YouTube channel in the referee or the the older rule series, not the 25-26 one, but the one that we've kind of got all the original videos on. It was very, very informative, and a lot of coaches watched that and were like, I never thought of that. A lot of referees, myself included, was like, wow, that's a new way to look at it. So the groundwork that you have is there, coaching, the teaching, being involved with the sport as somebody without a kid, and then somebody as a parent, and then post, you're still involved having a son that went on to wrestle in college. And if you haven't watched it, after you watch these videos, go and watch Nate's video. He does a really good job there for St. Xavier. And it was a struggle to find that video. The 2019 video was not easily found, but we was able to get it and was able to do that video. So this, as you saw in the title and the thumbnail, wrestling across the country, especially girls wrestling. Girls wrestling right now is the fastest growing sport. And that's, I don't want to say it's skewed, but I mean, football is already established, basketball, baseball, softball, all these other sports are already established. But wrestling for girls is the quickest growing sport in the nation. The statistics prove that. The legalization or the sanctioning, if you will, across the country of state tournaments, regional tournaments, postseason, whatever your state has, is just absolutely incredible how fast it's growing. But what we're not seeing is information readily available from people that would be considered an authority, if you will, on how do we start a program. And that's what we're going to talk about. So there's 3 levels that are non-collegiate, because collegiate is a whole different can of worms, if you will. But there's the youth level, the middle school level, and then the high school level. So let's we'll group them together, then break them apart where we need to. Wrestling is wrestling no matter what level it is, no matter what age group, whatever. Middle school, high school, youth, club teams, girls or boys, it's wrestling. The objective is still the same: use techniques, holds, and maneuvers to score points or pin the other person's shoulders to the mat. That's not going to change. How we do it does change. So let's say I'm a young person that has kids that want to wrestle, and my kids have expressed interest in wrestling, but there's no team around. There's no youth club. There's no Invicta. Isaac Knable, you can't just go, drive down the street and go to his house. What would be your steps to starting a youth or club program?
Okay. The first thing you have to keep in mind is our sport is a funnel sport. It's going to start large and it's going to dwindle down. It's just the way it is. And by nature, we really can't change that. Sometimes we can keep the funnel wider as the years go on. So a youth program to feed middle school to high school is essential. A lot of guys try it in middle school and then they think, well, we'll build the middle school, then we'll build the youth. I think you have to go youth first or simultaneously. Mm-hmm. A lot of parents are looking for something different than football. And if their child they don't see it. If dad's 5'8", mom's 5'6", basketball probably isn't in the future, right? And college football probably isn't on the table with those, physiology facts. So they're looking for something for their kid. Okay. So I talked to a gentleman who's running North Oldham's Middle, 50 kids. Great. How'd you do it? Same thing we all did. Took flyers, went to the lunchroom, started shaking hands and meeting kids, talking to them. We used to go out to football. I think it was Oldham County Youth Football League, and we would set up a table. We'd bring trophies. We sold pumpkins out there for fundraisers, and we just shook hands and met people. And the biggest thing is you've got to get the other coaches, if possible, to buy into what you're doing. The battle we had at one high school was that high school coach, he didn't support wrestling, told his guys not to come out. It was terrible. I had some youth coaches when I started. They were also football coaches. Their sons came out, and I gave them a place in the room. And then that helped create some traction. And I think we had like 45 kids our first season at South. And when I moved to Oldham County, there was no youth wrestling. So I think it was 06, 07, or 07, 08, we started the Junior Dragon Wrestling Club. And we had to go find some dads who knew kids, and then we just had to get the parents. And the one thing you got to remember, your customer is the parent is the customer. You want the kid, and then you can tailor that environment. But if mom and dad aren't on board, it's not going to happen. They're not going to go to a gym all day. They're not going to spend the money. Yep. And if they don't know anything about the sport, it's even worse. Yeah. So that's the first thing, is the connections, the marketing, just the political stuff to get some numbers in the room to start.
And like we said, as of this filming, this is the 23rd of November. Yesterday, as of this filming, the 22nd, we had the training tournament, the middle school training tournament at Great Crossing High School there. We had our junior officials, new people to the sport, and we had teams from all over. We had Union County to northern Kentucky, Wayne County, all the way to eastern part of the state, everywhere in between. And there was a lot of new faces in the crowd. When you do the middle school state tournament, youth state tournament, you see faces, you're like, oh, well, hey, I remember, this person or whatever, or generational. You see big brother, then little brother comes up, or little sister now, whatever it is. And we had a lot of new faces, a lot of new teams, a lot of club teams there. And what you hit on something that I really want to bring up is people don't know what to expect. That is going to be its own video because there's enough in there that we feel it can be its own video. We don't want to collude the two together. We want that to be its own video. So stay tuned for video 2 for that. But we will hit on just a few things about that courting, if you will, the parents or the guardians, whoever it may be, is got to understand that this is a sport that youngsters aren't going to come in and be Jordan Burroughs right out of the gate. They're not going to be Kel Sanderson right out of the gate. They're not going to be Dominic Black or Kurt Angle right out of the gate. So let's say we're interested in starting a youth program. We've got numbers out. How should we handle going to meets? How should we handle doing off-season work? What should we do there?
Here's the thing that I always struggled with. How can football get so many kids want to play, and a lot of them never play, but they're always on the bench, they're always there, and it used to drive me nuts because I was like, in wrestling, we get you into tournaments, you get field mat time, whatever you want to call it, and then I realized it's the endorphin release. And what I mean by that is people remember how you make them feel. It isn't the win so much, it's the environment. And I'll give you an example. When I wrestled in Connecticut, dead of winter, we had a coach named Lee Penny. He was 5'7", 5'8", about 160 pounds. He was a dairy farmer. This man would come in covered in manure and overalls, clip him, drop him. He'd come on the mat, stunk like a cow. Hands were all crusted with manure. And he made you feel, though, like a rock star at every practice. He always had good things to say. He always encouraged you. And Coach Penny was in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame, and I played lacrosse for him also. But I remember he was never focused on the win as much as other guys were. It was about doing it the right way and scoring I think he called it like incremental Legos, how you build it. And so in youth, the kids have to leave with a good feeling. They can't leave discouraged. They can't leave beat down. Why would you want to come back? Yeah. And then if the parent doesn't know the sport, well, I'm not going to send you back there if you don't like it. Yeah. But, a dad who's played football, that's part of the game. You're going to build character, blah, 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 because he experienced it. But in wrestling, he hasn't. So, and then they see a match and he's get pinned in 20 seconds. Now it's a double negative. Yeah. So literally all levels, especially youth and middle, they need to leave feeling good. Yep. That's the coach put his arm around, tough night, I'm proud of you. Yep. Hey, I love the attempt on the shots. And if you can create that high, that little endorphin release, they're going to want to come back where it feels good. Yep. And at high school, you can mold that a little different into, the hard work makes you feel good. So that's the one thing that I think is in the room that you can control and control the controllables is make it a positive. And I'll give you an example at the college level. What was his name? Mike Evans, All-American for Iowa. Mm-hmm. Guy's kind of stoic, man. He's a real tough guy. He's not a warm, fuzzy person. He's coaching at Campbell, and I watch a guy come off the mat, and he's screaming, great job, man. Loved it. And the kid goes, I lost. What are you talking about? He goes, you hit a shot on the left, you hit a shot on the right, you escaped. That's what I want. We can build on that. And he was all excited, and the kid was just kind of like, okay. As youth coaches, instead of the win, I want you to hit that double. I want you to hit that single today at the tournament. Yep. I want you to get off bottom. And then you celebrate those little wins, and that'll correlate into match wins, but they got to feel good about what they accomplished at that level. Yep. And that's something I learned later. I mean, I didn't do that in the beginning, regretfully, but now I see it. That's how we can build that momentum, that positive feeling that they'll want to come back and they'll want to be a part of the team.
And we done a video with Jerry Whalen. You may be familiar with Jerry, coach at Oldham. Had Jason Talbot on as one of his state champions. Jerry's one of the very few people that's had 3 individual state champions at 3 different schools over 3 generations. He had Oldham County state champion Jason Talbot, the Merton brothers at Lawrence County, and then he had Grant Kruger at Ashland in 2016. But Jerry, he would tell it when he was building a youth program, building his middle school, in practice and at meets, he would say, our plan is we want to get a takedown. If we get taken down, we want to get an escape or reversal. If we get a takedown, we want to get some type of turn we work on. If we win or lose, great, but that's what we want to work on here. Like I said, we're building. And to that, talking about the youth programs and youth meets, yesterday, a lot of kids new, first time on the mat, whatever, going to a youth tournament that we've done over the 19 years of officiating, especially now that we have the video boards up with like the name and school and all that kind of stuff. You know, you got a little 5, 6-year-old, whatever age, they come up and their name is there, you know, whatever name, whatever school, their weight, and you're standing there at the table waiting on them, and they're like, is that me? I'm like, well, is that you? Is that your name? Yeah. Is that your program? Yeah. Is that your weight class? Yeah. All right, let's go. Come on, get out here. And you'll see, Coach, get out there, wrestle, whatever. And as a ref, especially now what the series has been able to do for me is if I have seen a youngster that has progressed over the years, they've gotten better, I'll tell them that. I'll say, off the mat, whatever, see them in the bleachers, see them after, hey, you have gotten so much better than the last time I saw you. You have really improved. I want you to know that I've noticed that. And you can see eyes light up. You can see sparkles. I mean, you can just see them start glowing. So it really means a lot to let them know you're progressing. You may not be going the speed of a road runner, but at least you're progressing, right? So now we've kind of established the youth, what we can do with the youth, how we can get that going. Let's say that we are a football coach at a middle school. Pick whatever middle school. It doesn't matter what. We're a assistant coach at the middle school. And interest is expressed, hey, guess what? You're now the wrestling coach. We're going to throw you a $1,500 stipend or $2,000 incentive. I have no wrestling experience. Randy, how do I start a middle school program?
Middle school program. Okay.
What should I do here? I mean, I'm a football coach. I don't know anything. Talk to me. Help me out here.
First, there's YouTube. Didn't in Flow Wrestling didn't exist back in the day. Here's the one thing we're not capitalized on, I believe, tremendously, is the college programs, okay? And the high school programs. I used to ask the high school kids to come down and work with the youth. So it's kind of someone to look up to.
Yep.
Then we would take the youth to the high school matches. Then I'd invite some of the high school kids to come in and teach a little technique. Now with Bellarmine, Lindsay, Midway, Kentucky Wesleyan,
UPike.
Cumberland, UPike, and Frankie,
Thomas More.
Thomas More and Frankie James just started another.
Georgetown.
If you can take those kids to a college match,
Oh, yeah.
and if I were coaching right now, I would be at Bellarmine with Aikman and Cowan and some of these lighter guys.
That weak guy named Dalton Mayer, right?
Yeah, well, because
I'm kidding.
youth, we can't bring Thor in
No,
to kill all
I'm
the kids. Those smaller guys, I'd ask them to come in on a Saturday and do a mini camp, a mini demonstration. They'll do anything for money while they're in college, right? But we need to capitalize on that. But if you're starting and it's raw and you're beginning, first, like I said, YouTube is great, Flow is great, tons of instruction. But go find a guy that wrestled that has some fundamental basics and invite him in, make it easy. He comes in 1 or 2 nights a week, and then what he taught on Monday, you drill on Tuesday and Wednesday. He comes in Thursday, you drill that again. And you build like that. And you look for young people that wrestled in high school or college and stroke them a little bit. Hey, I could really use your help. You don't have to deal with parents.
Yeah.
You don't have to do fundraising. No paperwork. Just show up and help with the kids and start the momentum. And regardless if that program is successful in the beginning, whatever the numbers are, if those kids have a good time and they're excited, it will build. And then you can recruit other. And there's some dads out there. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not for or against dad coaches because I was one myself, but you got to find the right guys. Surround yourself with, like Coach K said, 3 coaches. In youth, you probably need 4 or 5, but good guys that are there for the right reason. And then, and my son says it when he runs camps. He goes, fundamental, tough wrestling. Wrestling doesn't, at that age, doesn't need to be real complicated. Stance, position, couple setups, couple different finishes, and fundamental, tough wrestling. And the fundamentals are not overwhelming.
Yeah.
And just sticking focused on that. And like I say, Legos, one click at a time and build from there.
And to that, on the fundamentals, we have the video of the 1969 state finals here in Kentucky. I guess it would be south of here because we're in Indiana today. But we have the video of the 1969 state finals, and we've done our first 1969 state championship actually review from North Hardin named Ed Brandon, and he uses a cradle. He gets a win. He was 1968 and 69 most outstanding wrestler. He uses a cradle. Right, you can see it. I mean, he locks it up, rolls through. It's a near side cradle. The cradle in 1969 is still as effective as what it is then as what it is now. Jaden Rainey, who's number 1, guess what he won with? An inside cradle. So just because it may not be the flashiest thing, I use the example of the 3-handled spinning moss-covered family Gradunzel. You don't need to learn that right out of the gate. Fundamentals, learn to half, learn a shot, a double leg, how to sprawl, little things like that, a few pinning combinations, the fundamentals. Now, I think it can be said that middle school and high school, as far as starting the program, is pretty much the same thing. There's not too much of a difference there. But let's say we do start a program. We got some interest. We got 25 kids out. Now what? There is some cost involved with wrestling. Uniforms, singlets, all that kind of stuff. I think the big thing, as you can see behind us, is a mat. So let's say I've got some interest out. I don't have a mat. What should I do?
Go online. Mats are for sale everywhere. If you have a dad with a truck and a trailer, you can pick up a mat for under $1,000 used. You don't need a new Resolite. You don't need, I remember kids in the club level, 17 pairs of shoes, and he could barely win matches. Basic ASIC shoes. If we look over there on Isaac's wall, there are probably used shoes left. And if you go to the high school, I remember at South, we'd have a tote full of used shoes. But on Marketplace, Craigslist, you can find eBay used equipment, used shoes. And the other thing I will say this, we didn't touch on earlier. I think sometimes at youth and middle, they compete. Middle, I don't know so much, but youth compete too much. When I was at the Goodwill Games in the 90s, I got to meet Sergey, I got to meet Zatiev, and my friend was an ambassador to the Iranian team, and he got me a place in the U.S. side. So I was able to talk to these guys from around the world, and they told me, our youth don't compete a lot. The first 2 years is gymnastics and body control and movement. In Russia, the same thing. If you go to Milos Manis's place up in Cincinnati, he was the Russian freestyle national champion. And he trains the Russian Olympic team when he was there. And he's from Kazakhstan. He's Mongolian. And his practice, half of it is gymnastics, motor control. And he would say, we don't compete for the first 2 years. So you don't need all the flash. Now, with parents, I give them 2 options. A, we take a vote in the parent meeting. You can pay this amount and we don't fundraise. Or if you want to fundraise, we need to raise this amount. 80% of the parents, 90 are like, I just would rather pay a fee. And that fee included a loaner singlet and a loaner headgear. And that was really it. The sweats, they would buy sweats for the program. And that's what we used to warm up in as our team uniform. And you can keep it low. You don't have to have all the fancy. Our kids in our first tournament went in cutoff shorts and T-shirts at the Raider Rumble when Nate was like in first grade. So,
And talking about the mats and all that, no matter what level that you're at and you're starting a program, don't be too proud to reach out to an established program and say, can I borrow a mat? Can I borrow pieces of a mat? Something to that effect. Let your wrestlers have a mat area. Don't train on the gym floor or concrete. You're asking for injuries. You're asking for people to come back to your event. And if you're somebody that maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason, can't communicate the best, have somebody else reach out. You're not going to get along with everybody, we know that, but don't shortchange your kids just because you may not have the best interpersonal skills. Have somebody that you may have a wrestler come out whose dad is connected through like maybe a volunteer fire department. They're real, they can have a good conversation with people, or maybe even a minister of a church, something to that effect. Somebody that maybe can get more out of somebody than you can. Don't be too ashamed. Don't be too prideful to do that, because I can tell you for a fact, in Kentucky, Knott County Central, they had just started a program, and the summer in between their first and second year, in that summer, there was a terrible, terrible flood. Their entire floor of their gym got flooded, their football, everything. Their school got flooded. There was like 17 or 18 people killed. One of the people that was killed in the flood was one of their wrestlers. And I actually got to go officiate his what would have been his senior night. His family come out. They presented his family with a plaque and some roses to his mom. That one was tough to do. I've done a lot of meets, but doing a memorial for somebody that would have been their senior night that died in a flood, that one was tough. But Knott County reached out to Tates Creek High School, Coach Scotty Teeter, and they borrowed an old mat. They let them practice and use that mat till they could get funds to buy their own mat. If you have mats and somebody reaches out and you don't let them borrow them, absolute shame on you. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to tell you how we started. Steve Pfizer was in favor of us starting the youth wrestling for South. We went to an elementary school that was next door called Kenwood, and we took his 3 pieces, I don't know if they matched, old mat down and kept them in their cafeteria. And their principal was very supportive, and we rolled out the cafeteria tables, rolled them out, rolled them in. Every night we practiced. Yeah. And that's how we started, but we just borrowed them. We didn't buy anything. And eventually, we were able to get the county on board with us using the high school room after high school practice. But we were in a separate building, not affiliated with, but they wanted to help. We just asked. No one said no. So you don't know till you ask.
So we've established how to get our youth going, our middle school and our high school. We've got some interest. We see some kids, some wrestlers that's got some potential. They're looking good. They're a sponge. They're absorbing it. Should we go out and schedule 30 meets a season? How many meets do you think we should get a year? Is it based on the wrestler? Should every wrestler attend every tournament that we go to? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's how we started with South. I know we went to the Raider Rumble, I think, first, and then we got a baseline of where we were.
Yeah.
Was every kid reaching back? Was every kid doing this? Then we worked on that. And what I hate is when people went every weekend. How are you going to fix bad habits or teach something new in 3-4 practices? Yeah. You need a couple weeks to get that, the drilling going. Mm-hmm. And what we did is, remember I said your customer is your parent, okay?
Yep.
The best thing we did was we took the South Room, we invited River City or Shamrock or Fern Creek over, and we would pay 2 refs, maybe 2 high school kids, and there was no entry fee, and we just paired up the kids. And they had matches. Every kid got 3 matches.
Yeah.
We were done before noon, and we were able to take notes on what we needed to work on. Mm-hmm. And we did that many times. That was kind of our preseason warm-up.
Yep.
Then we determined, do we need to be at an event? Which kids should go?
Yeah.
Which kids need to stay back? But we made sure they were all competing, but at a level that was beneficial for them. Mm-hmm. Not just we take a mass number of kids. At some points, we took kids to the Cincinnati Youth Wrestling League.
Okay.
Because back then, there weren't a lot of youth tournaments. So you could go to Cincinnati. I mean, it was a bear. You drive up, but there were kids there that I thought had kids. They were in elementary
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
tattoos and all kinds of craziness. But we would go there with our better kids, and then sometimes our second, third string, if you want to call it that, we would keep local. But doing in building or in team scrimmages where there was no team score, it was lighthearted, it was fun. We did a little group maybe game at the end, and the parents were like, "Man, I'm done by 11 or 12. I'm out."
Yep.
They were happy. And then the big events, we just let them know people can handle anything if they know what's coming.
Yep.
And we just kind of laid it out, and then we'd go. And Raider Rumble was great. Fern Creek used to do on Sundays a great youth program. Something fell out with the Optimist Club there, but and then when we started at East, we did youth tournaments, but we did takedown tournaments
Yep.
in the beginning, and it was run like a Tournament of Champions, a running clock. And that was another great event. But you can definitely overcompete at youth. You need time in between tournaments to work on things, to improve, not just drop them in the water again.
Yeah.
And they can barely remember what happened the week before.
And to competing, thing about wrestling is weight classes. Randy, I have a 9-year-old that weighs 82 pounds, but we think we can place at a tournament if I get him down to 64. What do you think is the best method to cut weight from 82 to 64 pounds?
There isn't one.
Exactly. There's not one. Kids at a certain age should not be cutting weight. Now, if they come into a practice room or they're just able, their body's naturally able to maybe lose half a pound in a practice without putting on a sauna suit, without running their guts out, without doing all these, making them not eat. That is ridiculous at the youth and middle. That is crazy. Speak more to that
Okay.
than me.
I fell into that trap myself at times. Like, we got to get the weight down, this, that.
Yep.
Here's what I would say to you. A child's going to burn a tremendous amount of calories a week of practice. In 1 week's practices combined. Clean up the diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to a protein, vegetables, fruit. Get the refined sugar out. I'm not saying no carbs, but white bread has no value. Okay? Get the crap out of the diet. And if he loses weight naturally, then that's his weight class.
Yep.
But if he doesn't lose that weight and he's eating healthy, he's releasing growth hormone. His body's growing. Why would you want to stun it
Yep.
to grow for something you won't remember in a couple of years? And we'd have kids come in that were a little heavy, a little chubby. And I'd pull their parents aside and say, look, for his body to recover properly, I didn't call him chubby, I didn't call him heavy or husky. I just said, for him to recover properly and have the nutrients for his body to handle these workouts, here's some guidelines. And I just have them on paper about protein, examples of what to eat in meals, and say, if you can get him on this, he'll recover well, he'll stay healthy, and if some weight comes off, great. If not, that's okay too.
Yeah.
And that's that's how you have to do it. The other way, I've seen more disasters with children stunted growth.
Yep.
And I'm like, why would we do this? What? It doesn't make any sense. But get the diet right, and if the weight's supposed to come off, it'll come off.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I was noticing that. Didn't see any kids yesterday, but that was trying to cut weight, because we know we can't once we get to an event. But you just, like you said, you see certain body styles and you're just like, that kid had the right diet, the right person telling them, hey, maybe we can get a few pounds off, maybe we can get you down to the weight class that is better suited for you if you drop the weight correctly. Not, we're going to put you in a sauna suit, give you a laxative and say, take off. That's crazy. Don't do that. Please do not do that. I would go so far to say that wrestling season may or may not be considered a grind. Would you agree with that? It can be tough, right? It's a grind. So when should we let our kids have enjoyment at meets, at practice, after practice? Because we talked about this on the phone, and I want to get your opinion and get your get your verbiage on that because we talked about it, and I was like, man, that's such a good idea. So I have a program. We've got it started, whether we're an established program that's won X amount of state championships or this is our first year. When should we kind of take time and do some team building, do some fun things in the room, whatever? What's your opinion on that?
Well, number one, the grind statement. Youth wrestling should never be a grind. Middle school, maybe the postseason when you're like those last 4 weeks could be a little, you can capitalize with momentum like we're grinding it out, but it should never feel that way with youth. Okay. So I didn't do this, but I watched it. One of the coaches, when he was running a youth program, he did Nerf wars.
Ah, yes.
So Saturday night, they'd set up obstacles, and they'd all bring in Nerf guns. And I was like, what is this Nerf thing on the bullet on the floor for? And he told me what he did, and I was like, great idea. On a Saturday night, tell the parents, go out to dinner. We're going to be here for 2 hours. We're going to do Nerf wars.
Yep.
And you put on music, and you make it fun. That's a huge one, okay? The other thing that I think, and this is something I learned, we get to middle school, we can talk more about it, but you've got, spike ball is another great game, dodgeball, laces, any game like that. But you have to have some fun time, man.
Have to.
Some kids would talk about practice. So when are we playing dodgeball? And I'm like, we got to get through practice.
Yep.
Well, can we do it in the middle, coach? Okay, we'll do it in the middle.
Yep.
But you have to. But I think Nerf Wars is a great one, or any other game like that. Mm-hmm. Another great thing you can do is if you can get glow-in-the-dark stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And turn on all the lights in the room because there's no windows. And they can play like a glow-in-the-dark thing. That stuff they remember, and they'll remember that more than the tournament.
Yep, absolutely.
And having fun like that. So, yeah, I think it's essential to have that endorphin release, that positivity, and the parents know that you're just not about putting the winners out there and nobody else matters. Because I hear that over and over. Yeah. He doesn't care about anybody but the kids that win. Yep. And you got to have it where everybody feels part of that.
And you talked about the spike ball game. When Kentucky had the state tournament there at George Rogers Clark High School, I think it was either the 22 or 23 year, one of the others, walking around there. They had like a practice gym behind the main gym where the event was, and went back right before the finals, and there was high school wrestlers getting ready to go out to play or wrestle for a state championship that was back there playing slam ball as teammates against other people. I'm like, now this right here is not something that you see all the time, but it was just, you could see they were enjoying it. They were I think more interested in winning that slam ball game than what they were winning the state championship. But when I saw it, I was like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? But make it fun. And to the middle school aspect of it, you get to a certain age, you can do off-season, maybe go to a swimming pool, make a trip to Kings Island or Cedar Point or something to that effect. Maybe somebody in the wrestling group, family owns like a couple pontoons or just something to where wrestling is not involved, to where they become friends, where the wrestlers become friends. They are doing stuff that doesn't involve sit-outs and sprawls and shots. Just something that you can look back on and build lifelong connections with. That's how this sport grows. We'll talk about something in another video that we talked about on the phone. I don't want to spoil it here, but I've got a couple more little things here that we want to hit on. Is whether you're an established program, whether you're a high school program that's numerous state championships, longevity, whatever, or you're a first year. If you're hosting a meet and you don't have an event going for the middle school and youth, it's high school only, let your middle school and youth wrestlers be involved. Let them come out and be the tapper. Let them come out and be a scorekeeper if they're good with computers. Let them be somebody that does the blood or whatever cleanup. Let them be involved. Let them sit with the team behind the bench, whatever, for a duel if you're having a weeknight duel. I don't know how many times I've seen that just in my refereeing career. They'll have a new youth program. They'll have on the same, camp shirts or whatever wrestling shirt, and let them feel a part of that program because that's your future, right?
I call it the baseball cards. They have to have something to look to at the future. And one of the things we did that worked out incredibly well was I had some connections at Iowa, just through some friends and that had worked with the team, and I had talked to some of the administrative wrestlers on the phone, and we got there. My son had watched the national finals where they won with Jay Borschel, and Metcalf was in there, and McDonough. Well, when we went to the camp, the baseball cards came alive.
Ooh, yeah.
Matt McDonough's coaching me. I'm 2 feet away. And it was like when they said, you don't drink alcohol, study. He took all of that to heart. And he walked up to Jay Borschel and said, you're a mental beast. And Jay goes, what do you mean? He goes, you're down 7-1 in the first period. You came back. And he goes, you watched my match? He goes, like 20 times. Jay goes, well, let's go. So for 30 minutes, he's wrestling this national champion in college. You still have that picture of those two together. And he's be 25 in January.
Yeah.
But on a smaller scale, if you can get the high school kids to come down and work with the youth in the middle, right? And then they go work their tournament and they see him and they're cheering for him, that's who they want to be.
Yep.
Right? Now, football and basketball, they're on TV, they're everywhere. So there's not a lot of relatable, for wrestling, it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. If you can create that linkage, that connection, and tell the high school coach, hey, I need 6 guys to come down tonight. Hey, we'll come work your tournament. Don't worry about volunteers. And what I used to do is tell my middle school parents and youth parents, hey, they're letting us use the facilities. We have to go support them. We're working the tournament. Sign up. So the hospitality room, the door, the mat, the tables. The high school parents were there, but the middle school, elementary filled the rest of that void. Yeah. High school coach was like, thank you. That takes a headache off my plate. So you can work in tandem, and both of you, it's a win-win.
And to that is starting a wrestling program at any level truly takes a village. It takes a community, whatever phrase that makes you feel better. You're not going to do it on your own. You have got to have people around you in supporting roles that want to see the program grow, see their kids do well, everybody's kids do well, because if you don't, you are not going to have a wrestling program very long. You are going to have a team that withered away and died. That's just the facts. And like I said about borrowing the mat or whatever, do not be so prideful. Do not have so much pride about what you're doing or who you are. Wrestling is the most alpha male, the most alpha female sport there is. That's fact. But when it comes to that, if somebody comes to your tournament, return the favor. If you invite somebody over for a duel on whatever night, and they come, and they ask you to come back a couple weeks down, schedule it out, come to it. Or something we just put out on our Facebook about weight allowance and all that weight growth. Now we know a lot of schools are canceling extracurriculars because of snow. We understand that. Safety for everybody. But if somebody come to your meet on whatever night and then their meet got canceled for weather or whatever the situation may be, and they have to reschedule it, don't be hard to deal with. Return that favor, because if you don't, you're going to be left out of a lot of things. You're not going to be invited to some tournaments. You're not going to get the close trips. You're going to be traveling 4, 5, 6 hours to tournaments, and nobody wants to do that all the time. Nobody. I don't care who you are. You don't want to spend that much time on a bus, that much more time coming home in a gym. So be as easy as you can to work with. Now, if somebody kind of screws you over on some things, that's a little bit different. But if somebody has a legitimate gripe or a legitimate reason why they couldn't have a meet, they couldn't have their duel, their senior night, work with people. Be somebody that can be worked with. Do you have anything to add before
Okay.
in this one?
We'll talk about this in another video, but pride and ego is the #1 killer. It's biblical. The downfall of man, the downfall of a program is a control freak coach. And I had my issues younger. I want it this way, that way. And my wife said to me one day, just because I don't do it the way you do it doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different.
Yep.
So when we did tournaments, and that's the biggest fundraiser, we should have mentioned in the beginning. If you can run a tournament, you can make thousands for your program.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can make that, I mean, you can live off of that for a season. So we would run tournaments. Well, after the third year, I had an army of moms. I didn't care how the hospitality was run as long as there was food. I didn't care. I mean, it was, everybody had their role. I had one dad who took my keys 30 times during a tournament. I didn't care. He was taking care of things. Yeah. And once you have that team around you, you've built parents and people that are loyal to you, you take care of them and let them do their thing. I mean, I remember our tournament at East. I went to go do the money with the AD. I came back, all the mats are up, the gym floor had been swept, and the parents were all sitting down. I go, we done? They go, yep, we're done, coach. And it was like 3 p.m. And I was like, thank you. Because we would have been there till 7, 8 cleaning up.
Yeah.
And so be humble and be appreciative and be thankful. And when you have people, they may annoy you, they may work your last nerve, but if they're workers, just nod. Okay, gotcha, sure. Yeah. And give everybody a place. If everybody has a spot to be in, it'll make life go a lot easier. And then there's longevity for a coach, because the ones that I see that last, that average is what, 2.5, 3 years?
2.5 years, I believe, is what they've averaged it out at.
The coaches that I've watched in my time were the guys that wanted everything this way. They trusted no one. They try to control everything, and they would never be flexible about anything. And after a while, they just get resentful. Yeah. Well, they're resentful because you never took advantage of the help you had.
Exactly. And before we wrap this one up, you said something that I want to hit on, because I know that my mom, no matter what sport I was in, wrestling, whatever, and she was always, volunteering this, volunteering that. Same thing with my aunt, with one of my cousins all the time, because they didn't want to say no. They didn't kind of felt obligated, whatever. So if you have a wrestling meet, if you got, whether it's a duel, a tournament, whatever, and you've got moms, dads, grandmas, whoever working, let them know whenever their youngster, the person they're there, they've got more people, they've got 2 or 3, they got grandkids, who knows, whatever it is. If they've got somebody up on the mat, hey, so-and-so's up on mat 2, go, they're up in 2 matches, go watch them. Enjoy it. Don't keep somebody or make them feel like they have to, if they're running T-shirts, hey, T-shirt sales are suspended until this match is over with. We're going to go watch it. And if you're a coach and you know that you've got somebody working a concession stands, hospitality, whatever, get the word to them. Hey, so-and-so is going to be up in 5 minutes, because you don't want to have them miss the reason why they're attached to your sport. They're attached for their kids or grandkids, whoever it may be, not to help you run your meet. Now, them helping you run the meet is a benefit for them being there, but don't exclude somebody from being able to go watch their youngster wrestle because you can't let them go because you got to have them selling T-shirts. That's a quick way to lose support in all facets. So this is video number 1 of our series. I think we've hit and turned a lot of ground, if you will, plowed a lot of dirt, if you will, on how to start a wrestling program at the youth, middle school, and high school level. This is video number 1. Keep watching. We got a lot more coming at you.